You know the sound, that soft muffled noise of the M7s, the classic suppressed submachine gun of the orbital drop shot troopers. For years, we dropped feet first into hell with this thing, and now, thanks to the official Halo ODST warbond, it's finally on our hands in Helldivers 2. The nostalgia is real. Holding it, hearing it just feels like coming home. But this isn't New Mombasa. We're not fighting the Covenant anymore. We're fighting for Super Earth. So the real question, the one every Helldiver is asking, is simple. Can our favourite stealth SMG actually hold its own against the threats of Super Earth? Is the M7s a legit meta contender that will help you liberate planets on Helldiver difficulty? Or is it just a beautiful, nostalgic toy that's a waste of perfectly good warbond medals? Today we're breaking it all down, testing it against every enemy of freedom, and also giving you the final answer. So before we drop into the chaos, let's see what the armory computer says about the M7s. You can grab it on the second page of the ODST warbond for 50 medals. On paper, the stats looks pretty decent. It's packing around 70 damage per shot with a fire rate of 872 rounds per minute. Now these numbers can shift slightly with balance patches over time, but that roughly gives you a DPS of about 1017, putting it right in the middle of the SMG pack. It also has a really nice 48 round magazine, which is a huge plus, and the recoil is incredibly low at just 8. The key traits are what really makes it stand out though: light armor penetrating, one-handed, and suppressed. Being one-handed is a massive advantage, letting you carry a ballistic shield or SSD drive without having to switch off your primary. The suppressor, of course, is its claim to fame, promising a quieter way to deliver managed democracy. But keep in mind, this weapon is locked to light armor penetration only, and you can't equip any attachments. What you see is what you get. Picking it up for the first time, the feel is just incredible. Arrowhead has absolutely nailed it. The weapon is snappy and responsive with a 90 ergonomic score, and swapping between targets feels fluid, unlike some of the heavier, clunkier guns in game. The sound design is a perfect one-to-one recreation, a true love letter to Halo fans. But feeling good and sounding cool doesn't win the wars. The real test starts on the actual battlefield. So how does the M7s handle with the bug menace? Dropping onto a Terminid infested planet, the first thing you'll notice is how it shreds the small fries. Against scavengers, hunters, and pouncers, the M7s is an absolute buzzsaw. The low recoil and big mag mean you can just hold down the trigger and sweep across a horde, clearing out the trash with shocking efficiency. Those 48 rounds feel like they last forever, and you can easily drop 4 to 5 plus smaller bugs before even thinking about reloading. This is where the gun feels best, mowing down swarms or weaker enemies. The problem is, the second you run into anything with a bit of armor, the fantasy kind of falls apart. The M7s has light armor penetration rounds. You will feel that limit hard. Against hive guards, your bullets just ping right off their armor plates, doing basically nothing. Trying to take one down from the front is a total waste of ammo. You're actually forced to flank, which isn't always an option when you're generally surrounded. It gets even worse against the bigger threats. Stalkers, while technically runnable, soak up a ton of bullets, and the gun has zero stagger power to stop them from closing in. I've had quite a lot of luck against them, but it uses a lot of ammo, which honestly can put you in a life and death situation at times. Brute commanders will eat up your entire magazine and just keep on coming, as they generally do not want to die. And as for the chargers and battle titans, well, you kind of know that already. You might as well be throwing spitballs at them. You become completely dependent on your stratagems and support weapons for any armored target, which really corners the M7s into a very specific and very limited role. It's amazing for clearing hordes of little guys, but it has no answer for the enemies that are actually going to kill you on higher difficulties. Let's switch gears and see if our old ODST friend does any better against the clankers. Apologies. At first glance, you'll think this is where it would shine. The bots have more obvious weak points, and the M7s stability should make it a headshot machine, and in some ways you're actually right. Against basic automaton troopers and marauders, the M7s works great. You can pop their heads with ease, and the deep magazine lets you take on a whole patrol without getting bogged down. The one-handed trait is a massive help here too, as you can pair it up with the ballistic shield and become a walking fortress against all the incoming laser fire. When you're facing Devastators, that low recoil is a real gift. You can stay locked onto their tiny heads and bring them down pretty consistently. In those specific fights, the M7s feels generally good. Unfortunately, that's where most of the praise ends. That suppressor, which everyone hoped would be the key to stealthy outpost takedowns, has been a huge letdown for most people in the community. To me, it seems to work 50-50 of the time, where taking out an enemy from a group will either cause a large firefight to occur, or cause the enemies to look the other way. From my experience, it's been quite an effective way for picking off targets from distance, bit by bit, but it doesn't always seem to work at times. And, same old story, the light armor penetration becoming a massive liability is quite a problem. You can't hurt a scout strider from the front, you can't punch through hog armor, and while you can chip away at Devastator's head, any body shots are completely worthless. That means your margin for error is razor thin. In the pure chaos of higher difficulty bot missions, with explosions and lasers everywhere, having to rely on perfect headshots is a death sentence. The weapon just doesn't have the versatility or raw power to handle the full range of automaton threats, and unless you focus precisely on headshots only and weak points, you're kind of limited here. So what about the Squids? As surely it would feel more at home here. And yeah, you're kind of right. The weapon seems to feel ideal for the Squid front, as most enemies here have light to medium armor that the weapon can actually deal with. Against the bootless, the weapon works amazingly well when nabbing headshots or just body shots, and with thanks to the large magazine size, you can take quite a few of them down before needing to reload if you burst your shots. Against the Overseers, it's also kind of the same, except that you must aim at the chest area if you wish to kill them. It will take nearly a full mag to take one down, and sometimes if you don't land all your shots, it will take another half mag to take one down fully. This is where bringing a secondary is ideal, as you can quickly follow up your shots with a 1-2 punch that saves ammo and time when dealing with them on your own. And yet, once you hit the harvesters and flesh mobs etc, that's where the weapon will struggle to kill them. You'll have no luck with downing a harvester, like literally none, even the stingray etc with this thing. And flesh mobs can be downed with the weapon, but the amount of ammo needed to do so is quite absurd to achieve. You're better off using a stratagem or a heavier weapon that can inflict damages that is capable than what the M7s does. Overall, it's good for the front, as long as you know who to use it on specifically. So we've seen it against the bugs, the bots, and the squids, but how does it compare to the other SMGs? We're about to put it head to head with the best in class, but first, if you're finding this breakdown helpful, do me a solid and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out and lets me know you want more deep dives like this. Okay, let's get back to it. To really judge the M7s, you have to put it up against the current kings of the SMG category, and this is where its place in the meta becomes painfully obvious. First, let's talk about the undisputed champ of raw firepower, the MP98 Knight. The Knight is a bullet hose, plain and simple, with one of the fastest fire rates in game. Where the M7s feels controlled, the Knight is all about burying your enemy in a mountain of lead. For clearing bugs or up close, or just mag dumping into a weak spot, the Knight DPS is a total different league. Sure, the M7s is easier to handle, but the Knight is for players who want to get in close and melt things, and it does its job really well. Next up, the SMG that every high level player learns to respect, the SMG 32 Reprimand. The Reprimand is widely considered the best all-round SMG for one simple reason: it has medium armor penetration rounds. That one stat changes everything. It means you can actually hurt hive guards from the front. It means you can shred Devastators without needing to perfect your headshots. It gives you a fighting chance against enemies that makes the M7s feel useless. The Reprimand has a smaller mag and more kick, so you do have to be more controlled when using it, but its ability to handle armor makes it infinitely more versatile on tough missions. Finally, we have to talk the utility, and that brings us to the SMG 72 Pummeler. On paper, The Pummeler looks weak, even worse than the Defender, but it has a secret trait to it. Its concussive rounds stun enemies. That utility is priceless. You can stop a charging brute commander dead in its tracks, you can interrupt a devastating rocket salvo, you can suppress entire patrols before they can call for backup. The Pummeler isn't about damage, it's about control. The M7s, with almost no stagger, brings none of that to the table. When you put it next to these metal weapons, the M7s is outclassed in every important way. It doesn't have the DPS of the Knight, the armor pen of the Reprimand, or the utility of the Pummeler. It's kind of stuck in this weird, awkward middle ground of its own. So after all that, what's the verdict? Is the M7s SMG worth your warbond medals? From a pure performance-driven meta perspective, the answer is sadly no. It's not a top tier weapon. It's fantastic at clearing unarmored enemies, okay for taking out targets sneakily, and it feels amazing to use. But being stuck with light armor penetration makes it a liability on higher difficulties. On any mission with a lot of armor, you'll be wishing you bought something with more punch like the Reprimand or more control like the Pummeler. And its main gimmick, the suppressor, is basically useless, kind of. If you're a player who only cares about Helldiver efficiency and automated loadouts, you can actually safely skip this one. But a weapon's worth isn't always on a spreadsheet. This is the ODST SMG. It looks, sounds, and feels perfect. So, who is this gun for? This gun is for the fans. It's for the players who want to drop into difficulty 5 mission with their friends, decked out in ODST armor, and just live out that feet first into hell fantasy. It's for the players who care more about the feel of the gun, and the nostalgia that they do about having the absolute best slot weapon. On lower to mid tier difficulties, it's completely viable and a ton of fun. It's an incredible role playing tool and a brilliant piece of fan service. Ultimately, the M7s is a heart weapon, not a head weapon. Your brain will tell you to take the Reprimand. The numbers will tell you the Knight has better DPS. But your heart might just tell you to grab the slick, suppressed SMG that you've loved and probably used for years. It's not meta, but it is magnificent. So that's my full breakdown of the M7s SMG. It's a weapon that's hard to recommend for its power, but it's easy to love. But that's just my take. I want to know what you, the Helldivers on the front lines, think. Have you found a secret build where the M7s actually rocks? Do you think the nostalgia alone makes it worth the medals? Drop your thoughts in comments below. I read every single one of them, and will always try to make sure I comment back on them. And if you want to stay up to date on all Helldivers' latest content, weapons, warbonds, strategies, etc., make sure you subscribe, like, and ring that bell. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon, Helldivers.